Neighborhood Livability Association. Tonight we're going to talk serious trash.
All right.
Our very special speakers are Lance Hamel, owner and operator of Rapid Response BioClean, and Jesse, and Jonathan Lewis. This is going to make me tired. Program specialist with the Homelessness Urban Camping Impact Reduction Program, One Point of Contact Program.
Is there an acronym in there something?
Oh, there should be.
There should be.
What is it?
Hucker.
Hucker.
Okay, we'll have to work on that.
Oh yeah, Hucker. Hucker Pop.
Well, we run One Point of Contact.
Yes. Okay, a few announcements before we get started. This Saturday, November 10th, is Neighbor to Neighbor, and we'll be meeting at the Community Connection Center at 10603 Southeast Henderson. Breakfast is served at 8:15 a.m. I'm told it's going to be pancakes and bacon. And our group will be working at Betty's on hanging some doors and maybe some artwork and curtain rods.
Washing walls.
Washing walls. I have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Pulling nails out of the floor.
Yes.
Stuart has a single event project that he needs as many bodies as possible.
Gardeners, right? Wasn't that the garden one?
Estimate's house.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Sunday, November 18th, we'll have the VFW breakfast at the American Legion Hall, 8329 Southeast 89th Avenue, Portland. And following that, the same day, we'll be packing boxes for the Thanksgiving dinner giveaway at the LNLA headquarters, our house at 7819 Southeast 105th. And then Monday, November 19th, we'll be delivering dinners to our needy families. So without further ado, I'll turn this over to Lance.
You know what, actually, if you don't mind if I could start?
Go for it.
Okay?
That's quite all right.
Thank you. I hit the microphone, can everybody hear me okay?
The microphone helps me transcribe.
Okay, sure.
That's why
Yeah, because we don't do notes, she does transcriptions of everything that was said.
Awesome. Got it, okay. Hi everybody, I'm Jonathan Lewis. I'm, as they said, I'm with the City of Portland, part of the Homelessness and Urban Camping Impact Reduction Program, which is a very long-winded name, but it is Hucker for short, if you like acronyms. I am also a Lents resident. I live in the neighborhood, so very familiar with a lot of the areas and the issues here, and have certainly been doing my best to help address it while I've been in this position. I've been in this position for, gosh, a little over a year now, and it has certainly been a learning experience. As folks know, we have not been able to, well, I should say, so we run the One Point of Contact campsite reporting system, and with that, we do coordinated campsite cleanup. We have not been able to post and clean any ODOT properties. We don't have the lawful authority, and it's been something that we have been actively working on. And with that, we went to the state legislature this year, and we had to pass a bill, HB 4054, which I hope you all are familiar with. I think you are. I created a handout, so I'm going to pass these around. So this is just kind of a one-pager that should help to explain where we're at with things. But basically, to summarize, after HB 4054 was passed, we immediately started working on the IGA with ODOT. And in fact, we do have a draft in place. It's being reviewed by our city attorneys, and then it's also being reviewed by the Department of Justice. But we do have a draft in place for this. Some of the major changes are, so when we went into this IGA, we were thinking that we were going to get all ODOT properties. That is not the case. ODOT is not giving us each and every property within Portland city limits. What they're doing is they're giving us initial service areas to start. They want to see how we do things, and it's it's a bit of a frustration, but it's something that we're working through. What they're giving us is the I-405 corridor and also the I-205 corridor as well, including the multi-use path. And that's honestly, that's a big win for us. That's what we really wanted. And that's why we went and had the bill passed in the first place. It's one of the primary reasons. It's because we were looking to address a lot of the areas over on the multi-use path around here, actually. So that's a big change. We're not getting all ODOT properties. The second big change here with this is it's going to change our posting timeline. As of right now, our posting timeline is 24 hours to 7 days. The new timeline is going to be 48 hours to 10 days. So it's going to be different, and that's going to apply to all properties, ODOT and City of Portland. So that's another big change that's coming with this. So I wanted to make sure that folks were aware of that. But we have been talking with Lance, and again, there's going to be plenty of time for questions. I'm sure folks have questions. But Lance and I had met earlier, we all met earlier, Jesse was there, to talk strategy in terms of how we want to address this, and I guess I'll pass the mic here to
All right. Hey, I appreciate you guys being here tonight. Thank you. So we are actually, Rapid Response BioClean is going to primarily be servicing the I-205 corridor. So I think PPS, I don't know if you guys are familiar with them or you have any dealings with them, but they're going to be working the 405 corridor. So one thing that we are pretty serious about is dealing with this problem. We are very excited to get the opportunity to be involved with it and work with you guys. So we're really looking at the MUP, the multi-use path, as something that needs to be available and safe for everybody. And what we're hearing pretty regularly now is that there are the houseless people that won't use the path. There are the houseless people that have been assaulted on the path, been robbed, threatened, all kinds of stuff. So from our perspective, and I realize it's been like this for a little while, but it's just recently that I've heard from the houseless to where it's unsafe literally for everyone. And so the attitude that we're going to take is we want that path to be available and usable for everybody, including the houseless, all the way up to kids walking to school and everything like that. And one way that we're gonna address this problem, and Jesse, jump in anytime if you need to hear, is we're going to basically have that path under supervision essentially Monday through Friday every single day. So we're gonna have a team devoted to working the MUP from end to end and posting campsites, working with campers, picking up trash, and basically staying on every campsite that shows up along the path. And so even though that we do have an extended period of time from the time that we post to the time that we can clean, we're going to be posting not just one area one day, but we're going to be posting the entire path multiple times throughout the day. So we're really going to try to stay on top of it. We obviously do want to make sure everybody gets treated fairly and within the law and make sure everybody gets respected. And so we're hoping that a lot of those campers understand that we're really trying to make that a good place for everybody. So whether it's the guy pushing the shopping cart across the east side and he's using the path to go from one end to the other, or the kids walking to school, everybody should be able to use that area safely and efficiently. The one thing that I hope you guys remember is that I'm positive there's going to be homeless guys that stop with their shopping carts and sit down and eat part of a sandwich or have something to drink just the same way as anybody else would maybe stop and rest. And that's something that should be allowed on that path. People should be allowed to use it. It's really what we're looking at is people that are setting up their camp or essentially trying to live there is what we're trying to deal with. And so we really feel like it's a safety issue, so we're going to work really hard on staying on top of everything that shows up there. And then with that also posting adjacent city street areas. 94th and Pardee is the best example, without a doubt, how they go from one space to the other and back. So really what's going to happen is we're going to be posting an area, not a bureau, is essentially what it is. So it's not going to be something where somebody can just pack their stuff up and move to the street and then move right back. They've got to move out of the area. So, potentially can somebody come in and set up a camp at night and get up in the morning and break down camp and get out of there? I mean, it's very possible that they can do that. So, and the weekends, it's something too that could end up being where, there's people that stay longer over the weekends. But really what we're gonna try to do is be in there and make sure all the sites get posted and work with all the campers to get them to basically relocate, or what would be great is if they started utilizing services. So there's another aspect to the I-205 corridor that are like the on and off ramps and other places, the cul-de-sac in Lents and whatnot, where we're going to be dealing with those areas too. We're going to really focus on the MUP is what we're going to do. We're going to focus on the MUP, the Springwater Trail, and the Lents Triangle also. But, oh, of course. But, obviously, we're not going to be able to completely keep the area camp free, but we're really going to try hard to reduce it down to as little as possible. So, yeah.
What's the difference between the posting time and the move out time?
So the posting time is essentially, we put up a notice and give the campers warning that we're going to come back and be cleaning the camp, and we expect them to move out of the area within that 48-hour period. So what that means is that essentially 2 days after the posting's done, and within 10 days, we'll be back there to clean that area. We're going to try to really stay on top of it. I don't think anything's going to be stretched out to 10 days. So since we're going to have a constant presence on that on the MUP, it should be something that we can deal with pretty quickly. So.
Are they going to hire more people to help out with the shore?
Yeah, that's been my question. How many people do you plan on employing?
Well, we have 21 people that within our company, and so I actually am creating the position of the East Side Supervisor, which will be Jim. Yeah, we'll work primarily East Side and be on the path. Jim and Jeff, I don't know how many of you guys know them, but we'll also have a dedicated cleaning crew for the path also.
In addition to that, as a part of this IGA, ODOT is going to be paying for an additional Clean Start truck, and Clean Start is the group that goes around and just picks up trash and biohazards. So they don't necessarily move folks, but they do come out within 24 to 72 hours to pick up sharps and other debris.
They don't like picking up sharps.
They don't like it?
No.
I do. That's all right.
I know people who will if I don't have time, but Clean Start is not real fond of picking up sharps.
Well, they may not be fond of it, but I've seen some reports where they've picked up upwards of 450 sharps.
Yeah.
So
I
they
think it
grab
probably
them.
depends on what part of the path they're picking them up on.
You were so fun.
Oh, I was just thinking that yesterday was the first time there was a gal at Bloomington Park for the city of Portland, and I was talking with her, and she was there just to pick up the garbage from, she goes, you don't have any camps there. I said, that's your mouth. No, we don't. And she said, well, I guess she goes Mount Tabor, Lents, and Bloomington. But it's the first time I see the city of Portland person out there picking up sharks.
Oh, I mean, that's great,
Yeah.
So I know
She
there
said it
are-
wasn't her normal job. She was filling in for somebody.
Oh, all right. I do know they're out there. We run into the parks guys in the parks picking up trash and emptying garbage and stuff like that. So I know they're out there. Frequency may not be as much as everybody likes, but I do know they're out there working hard. So.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, the biggest problem is not the trash, it's the people that
Of course.
create the trash.
Sure.
So we need the people gone,
That's-
period.
and that's,
And we need enforcement,
Mhm.
period. That's what I'm asking for. I hope everybody here is, behind that. It's not the trash, it's the people creating the trash, creating the fear of walking outside our houses. I have bear maze. I can't access my garage because it faces the path. You guys are aware of this. We want the people gone, not the trash.
And I mean, I totally understand that, absolutely. And so, I'm not that I'm trying to make us sound like we're the greatest people in the world, but there's a reason why they go onto the street for 5 hours and then they go back on ODOT. It's because they dealt with us before.
They know the loopholes, and so we
They
can
do,
close the
but-
loopholes.
Yeah.
And we need to get rid
That's
of
the
the
purpose of this.
I agree, and that's the reason that we went to the state legislature and had the bill passed, and we're drafting the IGA so that we can deal with that.
And the mayor needs to stop calling them residents. They're not residents, they're transients. When they pay $6,500 a year like I do, taxes, that was
I think they're
surprised.
actually anarchists, and I think they're actually terrorizing the neighborhood.
I believe it.
So I call them terrorists.
They hold us hostage.
And it's actually, it's unsafe, it's unfair to all of us that live anywhere near that MUP. We have a right to feel safe on our properties, and we don't.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I don't live in the area. I couldn't imagine dealing with what you guys have to deal with. So I try to keep a pretty open mind, open heart, and you know, be empathetic to the situation that you guys are in.
Lance has been great. Jonathan's been great. We need help. We need help.
I have a question. I'm visiting my son from Washington State, and I've met with a couple of my friends, and one lives in Lake Oswego. There are no homeless encampments in Lake Oswego. There's none in Beaverton. So what's going on?
There are actually Beaverton.
There are Beaverton.
We actually just got asked the other day to start serving seed Beaverton, and we've actually been dealing with the Beaverton recreational vehicles that are abandoned. Beaverton has been. I can't speak for them 100%. I've met with their bureau, though, Beaverton Police Department, and like I said, they just notified us the other day they'd like to start utilizing us to clean camps.
Well, I know in Lake Oswego they're not allowed, period. They are told to get out. But my question to you is, because my son lives with this every day, and it's scary.
Every minute,
It's
every
horrible.
hour.
Yeah, I don't-
Every minute, every hour. Every window I look out, I face these people.
Yeah.
I have no privacy.
Look,
And we need help now, not tomorrow, now.
Lake Oswego doesn't have any homeless camps. You're right about that. I will say that my daughter works at a business in Lake Oswego. They do have transients that move through there, but I don't know how their city departments deal with it, but maybe they just.
They tell them to move on.
Well, they have a lot more police that work out there.
And the other thing I don't hear anything about is the drugs. We've got drug dealers that sit in Lents Park, 8 o'clock this morning, green Cadillac, every single day. What's going to be done about this? I mean, these are the dealers.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to pass it off. That might be another conversation for another bureau or another, you know what I mean? That's,
Portland Police.
yeah, so,
Takes 2 weeks.
yeah, I
Takes 2
mean,
weeks to put a drug deal together. That's how back up the officers to go make a drug buy, takes them 2 weeks to put that together. They have to go through so many hoops now to just do a stupid drug buy.
right. Well, we are, like I said, we want to be very responsive to this problem, and we definitely want to deal with it. Like I said, I don't think we're going to be able to solve it 100% only because of the nuances that are there, but I think, I'm hoping to reduce it basically 90% is what I'm shooting for.
Do you have anything in place with the state? Any kind of agreement in place?
Yeah, no, a draft is in place and it's being reviewed by the attorneys. So there was a handout that went around, and then there is a timeline, and actually I forgot to mention, so we do need assistance. This has to go before council, and I'd like to invite you all to come and speak. I think it would be really important, in fact, for you to do that. It's December 5th, it's a time certain item, it's 2 p.m. But there is a need for folks to come and speak on this.
Is it on there?
It is written on there, yes. But yes, no, there is a draft in place, and it's being reviewed by attorneys.
Okay, now is that going to be in place, Jane, by January 1st, you believe?
We are on track to meet that, yes.
And will that have enforcement backing of the police for enforcement if rapid response requires that?
They've been on board with this, they know what's happening, we've been talking with them. Every Friday we have a coordination call. We've been prepping social service providers, police, yes, folks know.
And we have a great relationship with the NERC guys and even the regular beat cops we can call, and they're pretty responsive to come out and helping us.
Because what we've experienced is the police are telling us they have hands off, they can't do anything. So if that's not changing, then you don't have enforcement. Is that changing?
I'm not familiar with that policy, to be honest with you. I haven't.
Well, so with this in place, we do have backing from police. So yes, there will be that enforcement. I think it's a matter of, because we'll have the authority to go and clean ODOT property, all we have to do is just ask police,
And
if
when
folks
you
don't
say-
want to move.
When you say clean, again, I don't care about cleaning, I care about removing.
Yes, so cleaning, when we go to clean a site, we tell folks, hey, you've got to move. Anything that you leave behind, we're going to take. You need to vacate this area. Yes.
I will tell you that cleaning is actually a huge part of it, because what we find everywhere else in the city is when you have a pile of garbage, somebody occupies it.
Oh,
That's what
absolutely.
happens. And so by keeping the MUP clean, also removing all the garbage, it kind of takes away a natural settlement place, is what it does. And so it's a package deal, really it is, you know. So, but, you know, typically what we'll do is when somebody doesn't want to move, we kind of start on the edge of their camp and we start moving in towards them. And, you know, they realize pretty quickly that we're you know, there to remove everything. And so if, you know, and obviously if somebody's not there to clean their camp, all their property gets stored for 30 days, they have the opportunity to get that stuff back. What's great is if they can load everything up and take it with them is what's
Why are we
ideal.
paying for their storage? I don't get that. So
Believe it or not, the city doesn't pay for their storage. I don't get anything for storing there. I don't get anything for storing their property.
So you're storing it?
Property storage is related to the Anderson Settlement Agreement.
Yes, yeah.
The city was sued. We're required to store property, personal property that's deemed to be of reasonable value or utility. We're required to store it for 30 days at least.
what are those gentlemen called that, the park rangers or whatever we call them? How many of those individuals do we have in the Lents area?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I know that they
Not
make
enough.
We have
And they-
10 for the whole.
So they haven't
The whole
been this
city?
Yes.
this week. So they do hire seasonally as well. This week they've been out. They're in a training of some kind, so they haven't been around this week. But that's I'd have to follow up with you on that in terms of how many folks they do have on staff.
Okay, if we only have 10 in the whole city, we need 20.
In the winter
Lents.
time, summertime is 30.
That sounds
Really?
about right.
In Lents, we've had more ODs remove homeless people than the city's helped us with.
That is true. That's accurate.
When I was coming to Portland from Washington, I had two friends say, be careful down in Portland, because they've been watching TV and seeing, you know, the people are being attacked on the street. They said, watch out, pay attention. So, I mean, I grew up here, I'm just sick of what's happening to our city.
It's horrible.
It's becoming a toilet.
And
It really is.
whenever there's any type of rally or demonstration or whatever you want to call it, then we have those fools in California coming in, those KKK guys, and they're beating the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
Well, they're on
It's a
MUP.
mess.
I mean, this summer, you've got people in black plaid during these anarchist things downtown. They're on the MUP across the street from our house.
Really?
On what?
Has anybody else seen them?
No.
On that.
The multiple use pad along I-205?
MVP.
Oh,
Yeah. They're there this summer. And it's,
I haven't seen them in Lents. I've seen them downtown. But, you know, I've seen them around Lloyd's and everything.
no, the media has definitely blown things up to the point where I've got a friend in Atlanta that's calling me and saying, hey, is it really that bad there? And I'm like, well, no, it just was an isolated incident. I mean,
where do you live?
Southeast Lents.
Now, you don't live along the multiple use pad?
I live above it, but yes, I drive past it every day. No, I'm just saying I haven't walked upon it in a long time because I won't go there I won't walk my kids down there.
Well, that's the point. It's unsafe. right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I'm just saying, the media has, like, you know, dispersed the worst possible message across the nation. That is not necessarily, I mean, the conflicts are not every day. I don't, is what I'm saying. But that's the image that's being...
The conflict downtown or whatever, rallies, whatever, certainly are not every day. What we live with is every day,
Okay.
every minute of every day.
Okay. Yeah, no. I was just commenting on what she said about people saying they're going to be scared about coming to Portland because of the media.
Well, my mom is scared.
Yeah.
Coming to my house.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's
yeah,
okay.
it's awful.
Yeah.
So are you telling me you're scared of the media? I didn't know.
They call us a filthy city on television. Portland used to be a beautiful community. They call us filthy.
No, I'm not taking away from what you're saying.
I can certainly respect everyone's sentiment here, and I understand where it's coming from. I still believe Portland is a beautiful place to be, and again, the purpose of the IGA is to make this more livable, safer. We want folks to be able to walk the multi-use path. That's what it's intended for. I went on last weekend. I rode past your house on my bike. And I did see the things that you are experiencing daily, and I understand that. And it is something that we're looking to address, and again, that's the purpose. That's why I'm here tonight.
Thank you.
We're working to change that. And I understand folks are frustrated, it's taken too long, we want it to happen now. I get that. But we're working to make changes, and we're doing the best that we can.
It's better now than it was 3 years ago.
That's good.
Isn't
There you
it?
go. Yeah.
I mean, it's
So
better
we are,
now.
and that's, you know what, and that's something that I've heard from several folks, is that we're in a much better place at this time this year than we were last year.
Get rid of it.
Last year, there were still questions, we were still trying to,
Last year, the police weren't doing any.
Yeah.
so.
Well, we had trailers. I mean, you guys have gotten rid of the motorhomes, the trailers, you guys have done a great job
Which
on the
this year?
streets. Now, it seems like those people have gone from motorhomes to the path. So,
Are they going to adjust the model?
Well, it's, it is a game that folks play, and they know where the boundaries are, and it's been really unfortunate. And again, that's why we're here. We're trying to make that change.
I had a question. So it says January 1st. Will there be people on the path starting that date, or is there like a delay from the time that the bill?
No, so when HB 4054 becomes law on January 1st, and that's the earliest that this IGA could take effect.
So they're not going to be on the path until after that.
So we could start posting the MUP on January 1, is the idea.
I just, when will people be on?
It's
the
New
path?
Year's Day, but that's the idea behind
Okay,
that.
that's
Yes.
January 1st.
Yes.
Okay, okay. I didn't know if there was like a delay.
No. It would become law January 1, and theoretically, we could start posting that day, but it is a holiday.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And the financial part of all this, is the state going to pay the city?
Well, and that's part of the deal, yes, yeah.
Because, I mean, they have a lot more money to do.
Yeah, and that's been part of our negotiations is what's the budget look like for this, and how are they going to invoice and
And
billing?
will the city of Portland be able to hire more people to help?
Well, and we've been talking with Lance about that, and I feel like, do you want to say that again, Lance?
I mean, for those of you that know me, maybe everybody here hates me, I don't know, but I mean, we take it pretty seriously. I mean, we clean the entire city, basically east side, north. Just there's a small part of southwest and northwest that we don't work, and so. I have guys that are very committed. I have no idea why, to be honest with you, but everybody feels very passionately about all of this, and everybody works really hard. So we will definitely add additional staff. So we're pretty confident, though, that we can deal with this problem. And I'm a little bit emotionally invested too. I really like what I do. I really like the city. It means a lot to me to work with you guys to solve these problems. So. We are fairly passionate about what we're doing. It's a big deal for us, and we're. Go ahead, sorry.
Hey, the mayor posted a couple of weeks ago or a month ago that, all these numbers that we've, how much trash you guys have picked up, and he was real proud of it. The numbers are just sky high. We're picking up more and more trash. Does he really get it?
No,
So-
he doesn't.
So we have removed a ridiculous amount of trash. Is the thing. So I mean, we're typically between the three companies that are doing it, we're over 100 tons a month, which is just an insane amount of trash. We pick up turds like you wouldn't believe, turds and bottles of urine and stuff like that.
Has it increased?
What's that?
Has it increased since last year?
The volume or how? It has only because we've increased, our efforts. So, of course, it goes together. But, so I do get what you're saying. There's still a lot of people right where you guys are at. So, I mean, for you guys, it doesn't really register as that big of a deal when you're looking outside and you're seeing, what you're seeing when you look outside. Overall, like we talked about, I think there has been a huge increase. It's gotten way, way better. But I mean, man, there's still a ton of work to do. And so, but we're here to do the work. So I was going to tell you too also, the Rangers do work very hard. Having more Rangers is always beneficial, but they're really good at working with the campers and getting them to comply. And, we're really good about coming in afterwards and picking up trash. So We are gonna have an increased presence. Have we already started on spring water?
Yeah.
So we've started working spring water again, and we'll also, like I said, gonna be in that Lents triangle. We're gonna make sure we supervise that also. So we do have some very specific areas that we're really gonna pay attention to on an hourly basis. The one other thing I did want to remember before I forget is that as we're coming into this season, there are moratoriums on time around Thanksgiving and Christmas. And there also are cold weather requirements that we're going to run into. And so we went to a meeting last year where everybody was, or not everybody, some of the advocates were angry that ODOT didn't observe those cold weather requirements, you know, when we can't move anybody. And so we actually, as a city, we do observe those. So you have to keep in mind if it's snowing, if it's below
I think 32.
32 degrees, or if there's, you know, more than a certain amount of driving rain, a certain wind speed, whatnot, then we're not allowed to clean any of the camps. We can go out and pick up garbage, but we can't make anybody move. So.
See, I lost my passion for all that. You know, I'm a single person, and I'll son of a gun, I'm not gonna. Yeah. And I used to bring them food and boom.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, especially the ones that have kids. I would just break my heart. And then when you bring them food, now, do you have any money? Oh.
And they throw the food away, and I get to come by with my little tweezers and my gloves and my car, and I get to pick it up.
I have, and I feel horrible when I say this, I have no compassion.
People who feed them don't understand.
I used to. I'm a bitch now. Oh, I'll run them over. No.
Let them starve.
No.
Are you guys going to be able to get a better relationship with parks about the sweeping? Because I'm still stamping my paws that there's nobody down there. They're out there sweeping the MUP again, and I got people. They're not resting. I got people camping out here.
So we actually, I feel like we are in a much better place with parks. Again, we've been able to coordinate with them. They're not around this week. They're in some kind of a training. But we have been able, Jesse's been working pretty closely with park ranger supervisors. We've got a new system in place to sort of streamline postings.
I know that the rangers now, if they can give their 2 or 3 hour warning, and some of them are a little bleeding hard and give them 48 hours, but they are able to contact Lance or Jesse direct and get it posted right away instead of having to go through that phone tree that would take a month to get any information. But I'm still not seeing any kind of a presence at the intersection when they're getting swept. Since you guys are doing posting on the path now.
Only on the spring water corridor.
Yeah, on my section of the spring water. Will you be able to, someone chase them down and say, no, you're not going back down there in that bramble pile and setting up a tent. You are going to continue moving.
So, first of all, like I said, Jesse has been working with Mike Boyer, and he's the new ranger supervisor.
Yeah, here he's a little more responsive.
He's a little bit more receptive.
He's great, yeah. The other thing is Jesse has also designed, way out of his job description too, has designed, everybody has apps now that we share with the rangers that we're able to communicate with a lot better.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
So,
I have a friend.
It's over the last couple months, it's been 1,000 times better than it was, you know, and so, I think our working relationship with them is better than it's ever been. So to answer your question, you know, when we start to focus on the MUP, we're going to include this. Not that we're not looking at the Springwater Trail now, but we're going to focus on the MUP Springwater Trail Lents triangle is really what we're going to focus on as far as our daily routine. And so similar that I talked about in the MUP will be something similar with the Springwater corridor. Is that we're going to just try and stay on top of it. And
well, I got you on speed dial.
I know.
And I
So when
I know.
you say triangle, is he talking like by you?
Huh?
When you say triangles, you're talking about.
That's my,
triangles.
that's,
her.
I live in the
Could you
Bermuda
explain a little bit
Triangle.
about that, the zone?
So and you know what, actually, we're not supposed to refer to it as the triangle, I think, I'm sorry.
Excuse me,
So-
we've embraced it.
You've embraced it, okay.
We are the Bermuda Triangle Coalition, we're proud of it.
Gotcha, okay.
And we'll put signs up if we need
Just
to.
don't say in front of Lucas.
No, he's figured it out, he's okay with it.
Explain to the guy behind me here what the triangle.
Yeah.
So the triangle is
Oh, yeah.
basically, it's the Springwater corridor where it intersects Foster Boulevard and how it kind of widens out to I-205.
Okay.
So it's, you know, it's the 7-Eleven, it's the little grassy patch across from 7-Eleven, the cul-de-sac, that whole area.
Down by
And
Westcott.
if you should have the misfortune to wander into the triangle, bring breadcrumbs or a string so you can find your way back out again. The fire department, the police, and the post office
They don't know
hates
that.
us. Because you've got Woodstock, and Woodstock Court in 3 blocks.
Yeah.
Come and find us.
Do you guys deal with the regular bike path up and down north-south too, or just in the Springwater?
Well, essentially all the Springwater corridor.
Okay.
But the thing
I'm
is that.
speaking, specifically, my dad lives down on Raymond, and as soon as, you know, he reports them on the one point of contact, and they'll come out a couple days later and clear them out, and pretty much as soon as the dust settles, they circle back around and move back in.
Who's going over there?
Years.
Is
I
it
think
us?
that's ODOT and or the police.
Okay, okay.
I was just curious, I didn't know if you guys had any insight into that.
I'm not sure, do you guys know the area based off of?
So you're talking the path that runs north-south?
Yeah, north-south
That's the
between like
multi-use path.
Colgate and Harold.
So that's the multi-use path, it's owned by ODOT,
Okay.
and they're the group that cleans it. Basically, we're, with this new IGA, we're gonna have the authority to go and clean it, so that
Okay.
folks won't be able to do that,
Yeah,
bounce back and forth.
My
things
dad
like
just laughs, he's like, as soon as they get cleared out, they go around the block and they pretty much come right back.
To Lance.
Yeah.
They
Well, I've
won't
been
get
here
bragging
since
that they've been
1980,
there for 30 days.
I'll tell you what scares me is that if you clear them out, get the people out of the camps, clean up the area, are they gonna go willingly? I mean, there's gonna be a lot of retribution to the people who live around there.
Well, there shouldn't be, I mean, it's all us.
I
So
know, but if they don't have a place to go, where they're gonna go? Where are they gonna? put
that's a great question, and,
Yeah.
you know, honestly, as far as we're concerned, you know, we have a very specific job, a very specific role that we have in that. So we've dabbled in trying to help, and we stopped doing it, so.
Where's the next stop then? Who takes care of the people once they are asked to leave? What happens?
So
Whenever we post a campsite, we notify social services to come and help. And, you know, it's what you're talking about is part of the larger problem, right? Whenever we clean a campsite, where do folks go?
Right.
Ideally, they'll go to a shelter, and we do make those referrals. Again, we let social services know anytime we post a campsite, where we're at, when we're cleaning, what we're doing. And then we also let them know, hey, you guys want shelter, you know, please dial 211. But it is, what you're saying is part of the larger problem.
It's a dangerous situation.
It is because they go from one neighborhood to the other.
Jonathan, the people that refuse
Yeah.
services,
Yeah.
can you guys, or is something gonna be done with the people that refuse services? And
I think they need to be arrested, they're breaking the law. I mean,
And
they need to
they are.
be put somewhere.
Are you guys gonna do something, and this is the worst of the worst. The ones that refuse services from you guys are the ones that are committing all the crimes,
Right.
feces, drugs, etc.
They're not the police, that would be.
No, that's,
I
But
understand
it's part of
that.
the equation that has to be addressed, or else this will never
Yep.
get solved.
they
No,
need to be able
that's-
to.
They're just giving permission to clean up.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I do understand that. So there's a story that I heard, and maybe this isn't appropriate, but so there's a story out of New York City, you know, where every day they clean up the graffiti off the subways, and then, you know, subways would go out throughout the town, and when they come back to the station, they're full of graffiti again. So, you know, it's just, you keep cleaning, and that's what the mayor did at that time. He kept cleaning it, he had his crews clean it every single night, and eventually, through time, it got better. But you know what, this isn't something that's just gonna be cleaned overnight, you know? It's gonna take time. I'm sure we'll be posting it regularly. But you know, through time, Springwater Trail a few years back had some 500 folks living on it.
Yes.
You know,
Those
and-
folks are
and-
just transferred to where they've transferred to.
but some folks have transitioned into housing too, so there's that piece as well. And again, through time, I mean, it depends. Everybody's different. Some folks have to be ready to make that transition. But I understand what you're saying, and you know, some of that is a police matter as well.
Is there something that the city can do to remove those people and put them in a place where they're out of the neighborhoods and out of businesses that refuse services?
And to tap onto that, I think that there needs to be an evaluation when they get taken in, whether there's a mental health, a drug, or maybe just they're out of luck and they really want to get help but don't know where to. But I think most of the people that are habitual campers out there have a drug problem or a mental health issue, or they're a bad guy and they're just in my neighborhood.
And a lot of folks, so when we talk about the need for supportive housing, that means, you know, where if you put someone in a house, they have supportive services. If someone has an addiction issue, they need support. And that's something that's been lacking, that we're working on. It's expensive.
We have no mental health.
I hate to tell you, but this is the same stuff we heard 3 years ago, same questions and the same bullshit answers. Nothing's being done.
Can I comment on that?
Nothing's being done. Everything's getting worse and worse and worse. So we have more homeless. I drive all over the place. You know what? Outside of Portland, I don't even see this. I go to my kid's house, Tenderford House. I haven't seen a homeless person. I can drive all over that town. Shopping carts, trash, none of that. Drive back to Portland, here we are. So something's wrong here, guys.
You know, since I started this 2 years ago, I've wanted to work on the MVP. And we've talked about it because there's obviously, you know, people there's obviously a problem there. So this is what I feel like, in my opinion, is the first opportunity that we've had to deal with the problem there. And I mean, I hear what you're saying. I mean, I totally get it. And
We just keep going over the same stuff.
it's just,
You know, new guys come in, tell us a new set of numbers, a new law, but nothing ever changes.
yeah.
I don't think they're enabled to get it done. I think they're being held back.
I
Well, there's
agree.
no
I
facilities.
agree.
We
There's no
can't
facilities.
take somebody off the street just because they're a drug addict. or
They have to be a harm to
and
themselves or
walk
others,
around.
right?
It's not against the law, you're crazy.
Well, tearing down Makado, I don't think was very smart either.
No, and what's this they're gonna do? And the city's not gonna take bait on it.
We paid for it and it sits there, now they're gonna tear it down.
And
That's a good position.
well, we don't own it anymore.
I mean, what did they
What
make?
I'm not putting you guys down for what you're doing. I'm just saying, we just keep doing this.
I want to address
People get more frustrated.
specifically though, is that we're gonna have an opportunity to do something that hasn't been done yet. You know, so
Overworks.
I get what you're saying, same thing over and over again, but what you're actually gonna have is you're gonna have a crew that's gonna go in, that's gonna post a notice, and is gonna clean it. It's like I said, there's a reason why they move off the MUP and onto the street for 5 hours and then back onto the
Right.
MUP.
Yeah.
It's because they deal with us and they know that we're fairly serious and that we actually do what we say we're gonna do. So I truly hope that I can make a difference for you guys, I mean, with all my heart. The city has worked their ass off to make this happen, and I think we're gonna be very fortunate because we're gonna be in a position that we actually have a group of people who's ready to go in and do something, so, yeah.
But also, you will have the ability to come back within hours or 24 hours to repost. What's happening at 92nd and Flavel, they come in and sweep it,
Yeah.
and then they're not back again for 3 or 4 weeks. Everybody knows, we'll wait till the dust settles, wait till they hit the MUP, then we're gonna go back in there and we can stay for 30 to 40 days. And I have heard them bragging, well, yeah, we've got that, we can stay for 30 or 40 days, nobody's gonna hassle us. And when that stops, and you're able to come back in 24 hours, go, no, you're
Well,
out of here.
I hate to say it is 48 hours.
Well, okay, 48 hours,
Yeah.
but that's a lot
So, yeah.
better than
Yeah.
30 to 60 days.
No, it is, and like
And
I
I
said,
think
they'll
that
just
when
move it
they're gonna get
48
so
hours.
tired of packing up every 48 to 72 hours, maybe they'll get a bus ticket back to where they actually came from. I don't understand it, His Honor, the esteemed mayor, thinks that all of these Portland people are native Oregonians, I got news for him. But if they have
No,
to
they're
keep moving,
residents.
maybe they will, some of them at least, will go back where they came from.
No, and so to be very specific on that, they don't like to move. The guys don't like to move.
Right.
So I think that they are not gonna necessarily go somewhere for 48 hours and then move and set up.
They have nothing else to do, my friend. I
Um,
gotta go to work.
Yeah.
You gotta go to work. All they have to do is wait for you to leave to come back.
No, and that's why I say, if they come back at night, or something like that, it's gonna be good. But what we wanna do is we wanna disrupt that process, is what we wanna try to do. And hopefully they get tired of dealing with us or being in a situation where they can't just truly settle and stay, that they do know they're gonna get moved again and again. So, a lot of places that it's pretty rare that somebody sets camp back up again right away, when we clean a spot, so.
I have a question, John.
On this piece of paper you gave, it says public comment November. Is that already passed?
No, so that's happening.
And where do we go?
So it's actually the public comment period is going to be at City Council. We had, when I drafted this flyer, it was a little bit different. We were going to do a community event. That's not happening anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's just going to be a public comment period when it goes before council.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's December 5th.
December 5th, yeah.
And they're all
Okay.
for this, they're behind this?
Yeah.
Everybody's behind this on the council?
Oh, they should be, yeah.
Well, that's a great
Sure,
question.
there
That was
should
my
be.
next question.
Well, and that's why again, I mean, we certainly would appreciate the support from you folks to come out and speak.
Okay, so spell that out for me.
Please come out and speak.
No. I'm reading here for adoption, and then you say, it should be.
Well, so I can't speak for Nick Fish, I can't speak for.
Well, you guys don't have any kind of feel for what's going on.
But no, yes, I do believe that they are supportive of this. Yes, I believe so. And in fact, when we went to the legislature, they were all briefed, they were all informed, they saw our maps. Every single one of them should be a part of this. But again, I can't speak for them.
And that includes Chloe Daly?
Yes.
And
Yes.
that includes the new gal
Yeah,
Hardesty?
see this?
Well, so Hardesty, it would be Saltzman. Saltzman would be the person behind this making that vote. Yeah.
Yeah,
Is Hardesty coming in office?
Yeah,
She comes in, it would be January 1.
Yeah.
So, my fear is that with the advocates there every single day at city council, us all at work, so we can't go down there. They're bombarding you guys, they're gonna change opinions, and this thing is gonna crumble.
Yeah, I believe that this is going to pass. I don't have a doubt that this is not going to go through. I think that this is going to go through city council relatively smoothly. But
Beyond this year, with Chloe and with Hardesty, and with the advocates there every single day, beating you guys up, not you guys, the city council, I think they're gonna, do what we're living with. I mean, like you said, nothing's changed in 3 years. We've heard you guys talk about this for 3 years and nothing's changed substantially.
What's their objective? What is their song? What are they singing?
Who, the advocates?
Uh-huh. No, Chloe or whoever you're talking about.
So we do work with outreach, and I believe that everyone has an understanding of our process, and we don't just go and kick someone's tent in without any notice. We give people notice. We work with folks. I do not believe that there are folks that are going to oppose this, and in fact, we've spoken. We had a meeting, so part of that public comment was to speak with outreach and let them know what's going on and what our plan is, and they were all good with that. So I have no reason to believe that this is not going to go through. I don't have any reason to believe that.
Okay.
I just have one last question. My son's going to put tape over my house soon. I don't know what else to question. But, why aren't the police here? I mean, do they know? I was looking on Google. 1 out of every 2 arrests in the city of Portland is by a homeless person. So it's a huge problem for our police. Are the police not represented in some way?
They're so sick of us.
Yeah.
They're so sick of
They got
us.
nothing, well, there's nothing to do with them after they arrest them. I mean,
But who's going to actually arrest them? Are they going to do that? And at what point do they arrest them?
maybe you get a new mayor.
So I know they do make arrests, and I'm sure a lot of folks here are familiar with Sergeant Ty, which actually is no longer, but
They're retired.
I retired. I've gone out with those guys on the multi-use path, and was there when they were arresting folks with warrants. Part of the problem is, when they take them downtown and they release them they go to Multnomah County, and if the jail is at 90% capacity, then county start looking at low-level offenders, and they release them back into the community. So
I have to admit, the last 6-8 months, City of Portland has really been on it with Lewiston Park. Maybe because it doesn't have campers, and they don't want it to start, because they kind of got a clean start there. But if we call on a motorhome or a car, or, somebody's just laying there with all their camping gear, or we had somebody the other day go into the men's room with a backpack and a stool, and he went in the bathroom. Well, we just spent how many hundreds of thousands redoing those bathrooms? He's in there pulling the wire. So I called, and no, he was in there reading a book on the toilet. This is it on that. I didn't know what he was doing.
But hey, we're not nosy, we won't keep them out of there, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's the only reason we cut.
Oh, man, you had to do 4 hours for that.
You need to contact Deborah Kafori and the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office and ask them why these people aren't being arrested. This is not the police department. They would dearly love to scoop them all up. But if the district attorney won't prosecute, they can't put them in jail. And I know Randy was taking them in even when he'd been told he wasn't supposed to take them in, and managing to leave them for a few days. But it's not the police department's fault that they are not arresting people. Our esteemed governor made it legal to be high and possess drugs. It's not the police department's fault. Yeah, it's against the law to deal if you can catch them with quantity. But it all goes back to the district attorney. And you constantly hear, damn police, the police don't do this. They want to, they're not allowed to.
Jonathan, is the city working with the district attorney and/or people in Congress to put in a law that undoes the Anderson agreement? Because that's what needs to happen. You guys need to write laws that supersede.
I was going to ask that too, thank you.
And that's what needs to happen. Because you guys are hiding behind, not you guys, the city, whoever is hiding behind this Anderson agreement, we can't do anything.
This is tying the hands, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys, the legislature has the ability to write laws.
Who's the police commissioner?
Outlaw?
No, that's the chief.
It's
Our police commissioner
No,
is
our mayor.
Ted Wheeler.
It's our mayor.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the state legislature. You guys know the state.
Well, and we worked with them on getting this bill passed, but again, it's been determined through several court cases that, we're dealing with property, and it's an issue of personal property, and we can't just go and take someone's property. And even though it looks like trash,
But it's not on their property, it's on our property.
It's
So
in
it's
public
not,
space.
it's not technically theirs anymore. They left it there, it's not theirs.
so
It's abandoned
it was
property.
determined that through several court cases that when they put.
I know, I'm just, it's my opinion.
I understand.
The legislature writes the laws, and so
We need to
they
push
can
the
write laws
legislature.
that fit into the Anderson agreement, but help us.
So, with the case out of Boise, where it was determined that their campsite cleanup process was cruel and unusual punishment. And that's because Boise you're talking about people. So the way our laws are structured is we're dealing with property. That's the reason we're able to actually do campsite cleanups, is because we're dealing with property.
Yeah.
It's not, it's a constitutional question, I think is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
The other
We just need to redefine the property or reassign.
So wait a second, so the
possession of
cops,
property.
the cops can go out, and anybody can go out and go through my trash cans.
No,
Homeless people, oh, no, no,
Those
wait.
technically-
Homeless people
So
can go
what
to
you're
my
talking about is
trash.
you're talking about trespassing.
But we can't take their trash.
Well, and
Because they didn't put it up on the street.
So it
to be
is-
thrown away.
No.
You did.
I will tell you
So
this.
that's what I think we should start doing.
I've gone through this battle. I've gone through this battle with the city, sustainability and stuff, and it is technically your property until the removal company takes it, whether it's on the street, your curb, whatever. Technically, them going through it is illegal, but no one will enforce it.
Well, that's the problem. That's the
Yeah,
problem. No one will
absolutely.
enforce.
I can't call the
laws.
Portland police to come get somebody a ticket for going through my
When
recycle.
I was growing up, you had any marijuana, you would get in trouble. Now you can have up to an ounce of any drug, and the police will not do anything. That's a huge problem.
Not any drug, just marijuana.
No,
No.
no, it's any drug.
No.
Any
You
drug.
can have up to an ounce of heroin.
No, you
No, no, it's
not law.
grams, grams.
It's grams, not ounces.
I'm finding out that drugs are.
But I agree with you, it shouldn't be anything.
How much is it? What's the law? No.
So
I was told it's up to an ounce.
I'm not sure I can necessarily speak to that.
I was told it's up to an ounce by the police.
Not of the hard stuff.
No, it's of pot, yes, but not of any class A
No.
drug, not of
What-
Small
heroin.
quantities, yeah.
Because these people out here, that's what they have.
What is
They have
it,
the
2
hard
grams?
stuff.
Yeah.
It should be zero.
Bob, do you know what that is? 2 grams of
However, we're here to talk trash.
2 grams of heroin.
Yeah, really. So let's go back to talking trash. Lance says longer I've been out.
So there was an interesting article, I can't remember if it was Willamette Week, but or maybe Portland Tribune, but it talked about how methamphetamines are also on the rise here in Portland. I think it's, you can get, I can't remember the quantity, but it is a very substantial amount of meth that is 90% pure for about $3,000. And basically, it's really cheap right now.
Yeah,
Drugs are very
15
cheap, and it's coming from Mexico, and it's being pushed into our communities. And I'm not talking about just Portland, I'm talking about all of our communities. So it is a big issue, and the focus of the legislature has been on treatment, not on prosecuting people and putting them in jail. It's been on
They
treatment.
say we don't have enough jail
An ounce
space
is
to keep them all.
Well, and that's why, that's part of the issue there too. It's been focusing
I
on
went to all
treatment.
those
So
meetings.
Jonathan, the people that refuse treatment, refuse housing,
They need to get locked up.
what?
There needs to be a damage and a damage.
I know, but what
Drug
is,
recovery
what is the
center.
city doing with, what is your guys' response to those people that refuse housing, treatment?
To me, that fits into the law. We are dangerous to themselves or
We end up, they end up in our program where we go into their camp every so often.
So they're
There's nothing
doing-
legally we can do with those people. Not one thing legally we can do.
Is there something the legislators can write in the law that will allow you guys to do something?
I think I'd encourage you to get in touch with your
Yeah.
congressman.
who's never seen it and never lived it.
I think a lot of the folks after, what we
They don't live
work
in
down in
Salem.
Salem, so we have maps, I don't know if you're familiar, but I think it would be relatively easy with all the data that we've collected. I think it would be very easy for you to show your local representative what the issue is. And granted, you're right, they're not here, but
Even
still.
if they looked at, if they could get a record of the one point of contact for all of us reporting every day all these camps, if they could see, holy cow, this is happening daily.
So our maps are, I don't know if you've seen them, but they are pretty good, and
Yeah.
they definitely tell a story. And I think that's part of the reason that we were able to get the bill passed.
Which site would we go to get those?
So I can certainly show you that afterwards.
Okay.
In fact, I brought my business card, so I'll be sure to pass that around.
Thank you.
Yeah. And also, I'm available. If you folks have a question or need assistance or whatever, Penny knows. She calls me quite a bit. Todd, I'm spoken. I'm available. And I understand, again, that folks are frustrated. I just want you to understand that I'm doing my best to help.
Thank you.
So,
And so is Lance. You guys are both great.
Yeah.
I have
No.
to say,
We weren't roughing you out for no good reason.
Yeah.
well,
we appreciate
I
it.
also, so I live in Lents. I live here. I live over on 86 in Flavel. So I live in the neighborhood.
Yeah, you know.
You're like kind of armpit-ishy, yeah.
But, you know, I understand, so.
And we appreciate the fact that you do. We don't have to show you pictures to
Yeah.
show you
No,
what's
it's,
going on.
well, and also, I do this for a living, so those are all shots I've seen before.
But it's a little easier when you know that somebody really does understand the frustration and why you're angry about looking at your front
So is
window,
that
in my
property?
case, watching a man assume the position.
Some
Yes,
of
I know he's not
Yeah.
praying.
Sorry.
It's skipped.
Sorry,
That's
what
the
you said?
intersection.
I said, I'm tired of looking out my front window and seeing a man assume the position.
Yeah.
I know he's not praying.
No, I
That's
get that.
That's reality, because it happened yesterday.
I understand. I live on the spring water. I was looking out my front window at the 500 people that were camped 3 years ago, which is why I can say it's better now, because now there's only 5 or 7 of them instead of 300 in my front yard. So since that little folly, things have gotten better. It's just, I don't know how many thousands of years it's going to take to make it back to where it was when I first moved into the hood.
Well, look how out, what, 205 was cleared off in what, 2 days?
Yeah, but things, there's a new sheriff in town. We'll see what happens in January and February, when they know they can't stay for 30 to 45 days.
Well, and again, I think the most promising thing here is that folks really can't play that game where, you know, when ODOT posts, they move onto the street, and then Lance rolls around with his truck, says, you know, you can't be on the street, they move right back onto the path. So that's not gonna happen. That won't happen.
And there will be some
And
confusion
they'll
about
move along.
that change of jurisdiction for a little while before they figure out that
follow
one
their
person
property.
is controlling both.
They'll
pieces
follow
of
their property. They can move the property and then they'll follow the property.
So really, we're looking at the MEP as a whole, as one area, is what we're looking at. That's why we're gonna try and, or not try, that's why we are going to have a devoted team that works that daily, all day long. And so if somebody wants to move from point A to point B, they're gonna get posted at point B right away. So it's not like we're gonna go on the path and then we're gonna come back 2 days later and see what it is. Essentially, if somebody moves from here to there, they're gonna get posted here. When they have to move, they're gonna get posted to the next place also. So, you know, that's why I say we're looking at it as basically one area that we're trying to address, not individual spots or areas or anything like that. But at the same time, you know, the street will be posted also. Or actually, I think the posting will cover the entire area, be it MEP or city property.
It'll cover
And we
that.
can't have
Yeah,
a
it'll
permanent posting? We can't have,
We already
Well,
did.
and
no, I mean real posting.
so, you
Like,
know,
yes, in the
It's already
parks.
posted
No
on the map.
No alcoholic beverages in those parks, and all drinking right around the sign.
yeah,
Well, there's a listener in the sign. It
I
says
know,
no
that's what I'm
trespassing.
saying. And the one and only tip that showed up at Movie Park, me and my girlfriend tossed in the street, and then we got bitched at,
By who?
the police.
Oh, really?
Can't take your property.
Yeah, we can be telling them no.
I guess it burns down.
I told them I left her purse. Her shopping cart was there. But I found out they're scared of dogs, so we all brought our dogs.
Y'all right dogs.
So Lance, you know the main company that's cleaning under the Playville? We ran into them one day, it's some kind of landscaping company.
CNR. They're covering all.
CNR?
Yeah,
Okay.
they do the MEP. That's the ODOT's
Okay.
contract.
So are they still gonna be in business after January 1st?
so we're not getting all ODOT properties, so I
Okay.
imagine that they'll be working I-84 and I-5.
Okay.
There would be a famous landscaper who became a biohazard expert overnight.
I would
We'll
think.
talk later. Does anybody else have any questions for Jesse? Do you have anything you want to add?
No.
I have my business cards here, and let me pass that around. Does anybody else have any other questions related to this?
Of course, I have one more question. Where do they get those nice tents?
People give them to them.
Who donates them?
I think Columbia Sportswear, they do get a lot of tents that have defects. Is that? Columbia REI, they get it. Yeah.
You know, I
Do they give
mean,
them tents?
It's a good question. I think all of the above, folks donate, or maybe, they have money to buy it. And there are folks out there that actually are working and also without a place to sleep. So they'll get a tent and just trying to make their way, So I think it's all of the above.
Yeah, we do run into people that are employed full-time,
Yeah.
that are living outside, so it's not that
Well,
common.
those are people that are gonna have to find it.
Yeah.
One paycheck away.
So I also, my last thing here is, we just released issue 3 of our newsletter. I don't know if folks have seen our other newsletters, but
No.
we just released issue 3 of our newsletter, the city's response to homelessness. I brought some copies with me. I'm gonna leave them up here on the table. And all are welcome to take them, and please do share. There's a great questions from the community section in the back, where we detail a lot of these things, like what does it mean to post a campsite, things like that. So definitely please do take a look and reach out if you guys have any questions, okay? And thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you for putting up with us.
Yes.
Next we have Bev Keagbine, who's the housing loan coordinator with the Portland Housing Bureau.
Are you sure? I'm sure. Okay. I'm Bev Keagbine. I am the housing loan coordinator with the city of Portland. I'm here. Hi. I'm well.
I've never met her.
No. A lot of people that I did not meet until later in the process. But so thank you for saying hello. No, I can talk pretty loud. I am number 9 of 10 children, so I've learned to speak my piece. I'm here to talk to you about 2 programs that I manage at the Housing Bureau. The Home Repair Loan Program and also the Lead Grant Program. Are any of you, besides Kathy, familiar with that program? Either one of them?
I don't really know about the lead one, but I know about the other one.
Okay, well, I'll talk about the Home Repair Loan Program first, and I did bring some brochures with me, and I do have business cards as well. The Home Repair Loan Program is a program that assists lower income or people on fixed income with home repairs. It's an 80% median family income, and I'd say for a single person, it ranges right around $45,000 a year. You can't make more than that to be eligible, and that amount does go up per household size. The home repair loan covers things like critical home repair. If you have a leaky roof, that's going to lead to other problems in your home. If you have holes in your stairs, you have carpeting that's ruffled, things like that. They look at critical first. Then we look at if there's any code violations, which actually I've been getting a lot of calls from people that have been cited by Parks and Recreation for their trees not being safe. So they'll call to ask us for assistance because of that code violation. Lastly, we look at, thirdly, I should say, health and safety issues. If you have, say, an elderly mother like myself, and she walks with a walker, and her carpet is rippled, obviously that's a tripping hazard. So that's a big health and safety issue for our elders in our community. Lastly, we would look at sustainability. So what that means is what's going to keep you in your home longer and able to stay in your home so you don't have to go to a facility, or let's say you need a grab bar. Somebody's had a stroke, so you need a ramp because you have to put them in a wheelchair or something like that. There's all different things we can do with the program. The loan does go up to $40,000 depending upon the equity in your property. If you have a reverse mortgage, I'm sorry, you would not be eligible. Most reverse mortgages will not allow someone in second position because there is a lien put on the property. However, that lien is for 15 years. It is 0 interest and 0 payments. So you don't pay anything the entire time as long as you live in the property for 15 years. It's completely forgiven at the end of that 15th year. And I tell you,
There's
just.
an age thing too, right?
No, the city does not have an age requirement. Some of our community partnering agencies do. I'll talk about that in just a minute. So if you live there for 15 years, it's completely forgiven. Me being from the first mortgage business for 15 years, when I first started at the Bureau, well, I was in the mortgage business, then I was a certified residential appraiser for 5 years. And then the crash hit, so I, changed careers again. So I've been at the Bureau for 6.5 years as the housing loan coordinator. So this is one of my babies. I do the down payment assistance loan program there for first-time home buyers. I do the home repair loan program, and I also do the lead grant program.
She's maxed out, believe me.
So actually, I was going to tell you, I'm actually getting caught up.
No.
I was like 3 months behind on reviewing applications because I am the only person that reviews them.
I tried to get her to hire me.
I know, I would love to hire somebody, let me tell you, but the city is not that easy to hire someone. So,
What happens if you're in the home less than 15 years?
if you're in the home less than 15 years, if you were to sell the home, it would be due and payable through escrow at the sale.
Zero interest though?
Yes, yes.
It goes down over the years, right?
No, it used to, but we had problems with one of our new systems. So back in, I want to say 2015, it was changed to just a straight 15 years.
What if you had it prior to that? Would that still?
Absolutely, your note is still your note. Yes, absolutely. But for me, it took me like 2 weeks after I was hired and they're telling me about these programs. I'm like, what? It's forgiven? What does that mean? It just goes away?
Well,
I'm like, are you kidding?
It's like a grant instead of a loan.
What they say is that it does convert to a grant because forgiveness, it makes it so it's a non-taxable for the homeowner. Because if you were to get something that was, written off. So if somebody writes something off, they've basically given you credit for something. So they can send you a 1099 form, and when you go to file your taxes, you have to claim that and pay taxes on that amount.
So this is exempt from that, correct?
Correct. So you don't have that because it turns into a grant. The word is forgivable. So it turns in, it's like free money.
It didn't happen.
Exactly. But you've got these great and wonderful improvements to your home. I will also say that instead of selling, let's say you have an elder and they pass away within that 15-year term. In cases of inheritance, we do look at that on a case-by-case basis. We try to keep families in their family home. Let's say my mom passed away and I'm going to go move into her house and I qualify for the program. I'm going to assume whatever she had left over. I'm just going to basically take it over. And then at the end of that 15 years, it's completely forgiven. If I were to move in there and I didn't qualify for the loan, I would say I made too much money. Or I was just going to keep it and rent it out. If I was going to do that, then you'd have to work with the Bureau and they probably charge a small interest rate and then make monthly payments on repaying that loan amount back. But I mean, if, we take, one thing to keep in mind, I am a born and raised Portlander myself from North Portland. This loan is in areas for the Lents urban renewal area and for the interstate corridor. So the most rewarding thing for me about this is I get to help people in my own community that I see at Fred Meyer's or I see, out to pizza or whatever. And it's so great when they come and say hello just like you did. It just warms my heart because I know that this program is helping people for the better. And it's amazing how it doesn't only help them with their structure, it also helps them with their health. Because they don't have to stress about these repairs being done. I can't tell you how many phone calls I've got with men crying on the phone. I don't know what to do. My roof has a hole in it. I only make $700 a month. So yes.
How long does the process take from someone calling you to whether
Okay, so I will be honest, but I'll tell you first and foremost, the typical scenario is you submit an application to me, which takes about 3 to 4 weeks to review. I send you approval, you send it back to me. Once I get that back, I order title, make sure any liens or judgments on the property. And then what I do is I turn the file over to our construction coordinators. And what they do is they'll call you and schedule a time to come out and do a full home assessment of your home to see, I mean, they'll look in the attic, they look in the crawl space, they look in if there's basements, they look in every room of the home to see what can be done under the program guidelines. They create a scope of work. They also assist in the bidding process. They'll contact some contractors, meet at the property, and get bids from those contractors, and then they'll also work with the homeowner to try and decide who the homeowner wants to work with. From there,
Do they have to be city-approved contractors?
they do not have to be city approved per se. They do have to have the correct certifications in order to be on our contractors list.
Because when my pipes all exploded last year, they just temporarily fixed them. They're not fixed yet, they were still galvanized. And I thought, I wonder if I can still use the same one, plumber that fixed it.
It is a possibility. They might be on the list already. It just depends. When you have the assessment done, if you haven't had it done already. I don't know exactly where you are in your process, so my apologies.
No, I just mailed you back with it.
That's what I thought. Oh, that's right. Okay, yes, I haven't got everything back yet, but I am expecting it soon. But it does take a couple extra days because it goes to the mailman first and it comes back to me. But then after the bid process and they determine, I'm sorry, I'll be right with you. After they determine what contractor they're going to use, they come back to me to sign the final closing documents. And once that happens, a notice to proceed is issued, and then construction can begin, and then the construction coordinators take over, get the repairs done, and it's dispersed. And in a normal, typical situation, I will say about 6 months to a year in most cases. That also depends on how responsive and interactive the client is as well. Some people have quicker access to emails or scanners, or they can just email you a document back. Well, there's those persons that, like my mom, she doesn't have a computer. She doesn't even have an email address. 26 years ago when my dad passed away, she didn't even have an ID card, like a government issued ID card. I'm like, oh my God, Mom. But it's right now, I will be totally honest with you. I was 3 months behind on applications because we were just so overwhelmed. The construction coordinators were also overwhelmed. We only had 2. We just hired a 3rd, and we're really keeping our fingers crossed that we can hire a 4th construction coordinator for maybe just a temporary term. But I kind of heard that was kind of shut down.
What does that construction coordinator do?
They go out and do the home assessment. They do they derive the scope of work, estimate what the costs might be, get all the contractors together, and then help that homeowner through that whole process.
So they're through the process. They're kind of like a general contractor?
They are. They have a lot of what is that word? Contractorial experience? Is that even a word?
So they're involved.
They are very involved. Yeah, they're not doing the actual work themselves, but it has to be approved from the homeowner and us as well. We kind of keep those funds in an escrow account basically, and then once the construction is completed, the homeowner signs a form.
A homeowner $40,000, put in their bank account, and spend it.
Right. Right. The homeowner signs. Yeah, they sign a form saying, hey, the work is completed. They send it out to the construction coordinator, and then the construction coordinator, depending upon what the work is, let's say they just did the roof, so they want to be paid for the roof. So the construction coordinator can just drive by. Obviously, the roof is on.
So it's
or walk around outside. Yes. Yeah, it's to their approval and to ours. And so, I mean, right now, I have files, honestly, that have been hanging around for about 2 years. Some of those are elders that don't have accessibility to things. Some of them are hoarders that you can't even get into a room because it's so full of stuff. You can't see what the floor looks like. You can't even see the wall. You can get in the door about 4 feet because the door opens and shuts.
I think you need to hire somebody to help you with that.
So there's all kinds of different aspects to some of them, but on a typical basis, I would say anywhere from 6 months to a year.
Isn't there?
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
Doug's turn.
So anyway, my question was if you already have a lien on your property because you've deferred your taxes,
That's okay.
that's okay?
Yeah, we don't mind that. Hey, that's great for you. Fantastic job, you know? I'll be right with you. Kathy?
Isn't there something about the value of your home? It can only be so much.
It is, the value of your home. It has to go up to, we can only go up to 100% loan to value, actually combined loan to value, which do all of you understand what combined loan to value is? It's basically what your property is worth as opposed to what you owe. So let's say, easy numbers for me, 200,000 is your value of your home. You have a mortgage that's 100,000. So basically, right now, you're sitting at 50% loan to value because you owe this much money on the value of your property. So what we would do is I would take what your current balance is and I would add what our loan is up to $40,000. We just estimated the total amount for everyone in the beginning, but I was gonna also add that it is determined what work needs to be done is what the loan amount will end up being. So it's not all. It can, but not very often. We try to limit it to the 40,000, but a lot of times it could be 20,000 or 30,000, something like that. So I add our loan to the 100,000, so that'd be 140,000. So that would be that combined loan to value.
So then you're at 70%.
Right, exactly.
I'm in this process right now. So when do I find out what exactly I can do? Do I have to wait for that dude to come to the house?
You have to wait for the construction coordinator to come to the home. Yes. I'm not like, I can't, I mean, all really, you guys, right
My
now?
house is built in 38, I have my original windows.
Oh, yeah.
I have, and they're beautiful. They're wooden windows and they're beautiful, but you can feel the wind blowing.
Yeah, my house is 1914, so I have lath and plaster and single pane windows.
I can top it. My dad in 1908.
Nice.
But so that's what I was interested in is he's on a fixed income. I wasn't sure how to get this, even look into this process.
Call me. There's also information online. I do have some flyers over here.
Awesome.
But there is kind of a basis on the webpage as well. But you can always email me right now, honestly, is the best, but I'm just going to tell Kathy, I think I have like 3 files
She
left.
answered me within 2 hours today. That is wonderful.
Well, listen, like you said, I mean, my dad's got, 1908 house down here in Lents, and his pipes are all, he's got non-tube wiring, he's got just, everything.
Yeah. So definitely, I would say just shoot me an email with his property address and just remind me that we met here.
Yeah.
And, just let me know his property address and what he's looking for, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'll talk to him.
But I do have to say, just because of the backlog that the construction coordinators are going through right now, we are taking applications list for applications, and then after, we're hoping January 1, things will have kind of dwindled down for them to where they are actually feeling like, I can breathe now. So, but please don't hesitate to call me because, after January 1st, if I've got 10 people on the list, I'm calling those 10 people and I'm sending them applications. Because I am still pre-qualifying them over the phone. I'm just asking them, you do have to be current on your property taxes and your mortgage payment if you have a mortgage. You do also have to have homeowners insurance in place, and that is to not only protect those people that are working at your property, but mainly to protect you. I think that's it about the home repair program. If I could just briefly tell you about the lead grant program, because that is a grant for those persons that live in the city of Portland in a home prior to 1978 and have a child that is 5 or younger that either live in the home or visit the home 60 hours a year. So if someone you knows have a grandchild that's 3 years old that came to spend the weekend at their house in 1 year, you would be eligible for that lead grant. We do ask that you have that child tested for lead. There is a class that you do take that's free through the Community Energy Project on the lead poisoning prevention. That is a requirement of the grant as well. The grant, again, goes with the 80% median family income. So I will say that there's a lot of people that are eligible for the home repair loan, and they're also getting the grant. The grant can go on an average of about $10,000. They'll come in and do that assessment. They'll test the walls, the floors, the ceilings, the windows, the window ledges, the dirt outside, everywhere. I don't know, you guys might remember maybe a year ago, a couple years ago, there was a house out here in this area where it was on the news, and they had a child living in the home. They were trying to buy the home from the landlord, and then they realized their child was at I think it was somewhere like a 17 blood lead level. For those of you that are not familiar with it, 5 is continued, or is considered an elevated blood level. So a 17 was like off the charts. But it was on the news because they literally had to dig up the entire yard. That file started with us, with me, but unfortunately there was just way too much to be done. So then that's when the other agencies stepped in. I think the state actually stepped in and just took over, and I think they dug, I want to say, anywhere from like 2 feet to 6 feet down.
What's in the yard that they can go?
The dirt.
What's contaminated?
Well, it's oil, it's gas, it's just whatever else. We went back in the history of photos on portlandmaps.com, and you can see all these cars that are parked there. There was all kinds of stuff that the previous owner had done. And the current landlord was not aware of it. So it was a huge case. So the lead grant is there, to protect our children, really. But it is the 80% median family income. I just verify income. You cannot own any other properties, because there is an asset limit for both of the programs. It is $20,000 or less. If you have $20,000 or less cash assets in the bank, you would qualify as well, as long as you qualify for income. There is no loan to value, there is no payments, there is no checking, mortgage payment, no mortgage information, because it is a grant. So it is free money. So,
What about asbestos?
I do not know if they test for asbestos, honestly. I do not know that. You can call me and I'll have you ask them.
What do they test for?
Lead.
Okay, that's what it is.
Lead in the paint, lead in the dust, lead in your toys. I know that there was some toys that were tested by one of our homeowners on our previous grant round that were theirs when they were younger, like they were mine when I was younger, but I inherited from my brother, who's now 66. So they were his toys. Well, then I get them. And then my granddaughter was playing with them. I'm like, whoa, what am I doing? Because there was a homeowner that had like all of her toys there that were lead. They were painted with lead-based paint. So, it's out there. And, I have to say I'm guilty because I did some remodeling in my own home and didn't even think about lead. It was before I had this job. Didn't even know anything about it. So it's education is key for our kids.
All paint before 1978 had lead in it, right?
I won't say all of it, but I know that in the latter parts of, I want to say maybe latter 50s, early 60s. No, wait, let me rephrase that. Latter 60s, they started fading it all out. So if you have a home that was probably built in, say, 72, 75, it's a high probability that you may not have lead in your home. But it doesn't hurt to get it tested if you qualify for the program. It's free, as long as you qualify for the program. I think those tests can run, if you have someone come out and test your home, anywhere from, I want to say $1,000 to $1,500. Because they send everything to a lab, it's all tested by a lab, and then it comes back to us. And again, with that process, they'll derive a scope of work, because anywhere that lead is found, the lead grant can help remediate that lead in your home. I think that's really all I have, but I do have some flyers up there, like I said, and you can always email me or call me, or if you have questions, I'm here. I'm here.
One of my neighbors had a question, but he's sick and couldn't come.
Okay.
He has a PVC home improvement.
On the old ones?
The old ones. He was curious if that old loan could be converted to the new grants. I said, never asked.
Well, that's funny that you should ask me that, because the old PDC loans, depending upon what they are, we are working on trying to convert those. Some of those were deferred payments with an interest rate.
Right, I think his is like 3%, but no.
Yes, so if you think about it, I was doing some calculations on some of the previous ones that I was having come up on my desk. And if you think about it, if you calculated it all out, if they got, let's say, a $20,000 loan, that's a 30-year loan, not 15, it's a 30-year loan.
Right.
So after it accrues that interest for 3% for 30 years, they roughly owe double of what the original loan amount, or, loan amount was. So I brought that to my supervisor. My manager took that to her manager, and we just got it approved, through the Housing Investment Committee to try to get those converted for the persons that have them. But what we're having trouble with is the forgivable part as opposed to the write-off part. So we have legal involved in that right now. I can tell you it was approved last year by our Housing Investment Committee, HIC, but we cannot move forward until we actually can say we can forgive the principal balance as well as the interest without it causing the borrower an additional debt, because we don't want to do that to them, So we are working on that, yes. So, yes, and you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say from experience that I am part of this program. In 2009, I bought a house. And at the time, they were giving loans to very low income. I kind of got in over my head, and I needed a roof. And a couple years after I bought it, I called you guys.
Oh yeah, nice.
And my pipes, they also saw my pipes were going like this.
Yes.
And the electrical, I had the knob tube. And so they recognized all this, and they repaired. Everything's been replaced. All new pipes, new roof, and electrical upgrade, and it's awesome.
Nice.
15-year loan? 15-year loan?
30-year loan. But
It's
it's
the 30-year,
the 15. Now, when I got this program, it's forgiven after 15 years, but it reduces also.
Yes.
But now, but that's changed.
Yeah, the previous way that it was is it was a 15-year loan. Excuse me. After the 10th year, so beginning of the 11th year, 20% of that principal balance was forgiven. And then each year thereafter, until the 15th year, it'd be completely forgiven.
Do you make any payments?
No.
I mean, for my house, but not to the program.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's
I
always
think there was a
been-
couple fees I had to pay, some small fee, like $35 or something like that.
Yeah,
I
I
can't
don't-
remember what it was, but
I don't know back then.
no
I was
payments
a little bit
for
before me,
those
but
repairs. But
I will say there are 2 fees that come with the home repair loan right now, but they are incorporated into the loan. They don't come to us. One of them goes to the title company for pulling a monetary encumbrance report, and what that is, it just tells us what liens or if there's any judgments on the property, that kind of thing, because we do have to make sure that there is a clear title for them. And I will say a lot of people have said, what is that on my title? I have no idea. Well, that's from my ex-wife, or that's from my ex-husband, or that was included in my bankruptcy, or there was actually one client, it was her mortgage. And it was like for $4,000, and it was over 30 years old. But her mortgage company went out of business and never transferred over and never reconveyed it. So now she has to go through the grueling task of trying to get that removed from her property. So in some cases, it's very helpful for us to do that, but then that's $100 is what we're charged for those. And then we also charge $92 for the recording of the trust deed, which goes to the county. And they recently raised that by $40. I could not believe it.
Yes, they did.
It went from $52 to $92, which Previously, it was raised like $5 or $10 here and there, but that $40 increase was just brutal.
That is yes,
Yeah.
for affordable housing.
Affordable housing, and I will say, I will say I am from the Housing Bureau, but that's not my gamut of things. I work, like I said, I work with all of the single-family residents that are current homeowners and/or first-time homeowners. So I don't work with the affordable housing, like the development side of that stuff. Thank God for that. But I love what I do. I've done it for 6.5 years, and I'd like to continue until I retire. Because it's a wonderful program. So please feel free to email me or call me if you have any other questions, or if you think somebody might be eligible, or I did actually have someone call that said, you know what, my neighbor, I think, could really use your help, but I don't want to offend them by asking them what their income is. And I said, okay, well, I can send out a flyer. I'll send you a flyer, and you can say, hey, look what I got. So, or I could send them one too, so that you both get it. So there's no offense. They just want to assist if they can. Because so many people don't know about these programs, and that's why I'm here tonight.
Do you have a card?
Say that?
Do you have a business card?
Absolutely, yes. Let me grab one for you.
Yeah, they're all over here with the brochures.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm trusty.
Letter card on the goodies, thank you.
You're welcome. Help yourself.
Thank you.
Help yourself. Yeah. Oh, you want one too? You may absolutely. Oh, I need two. You need two? Sure. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. All right.
Anyone else have anything they want?
Thank you. Absolutely. Anybody else want a card?
You got one for me?
Yeah, I know. He grabbed one. I said, oh, that's for you, isn't it? Yeah, well, you're
My house is perfect.
Yours is gorgeous.
Yeah, David, before you put the adjourn, I don't know if there's that many people here.
Before we break this all up and adjourn, I just want to thank, hello over there. I want to thank everybody who has donated to our Thanksgiving turkey drive. We have everything we need except 15 bottles or containers of whipped cream to provide 24 full Thanksgiving dinners to 24 families in Lents that may not have a Thanksgiving without our help. So I want to thank everybody that has donated. Thank you for beating on your neighbors' doors. You've done good. And we'll be doing this again next year, so you can think ahead and start saving your little pennies and coupons or whatever, because we'll be doing this again next Thanksgiving. Thank you.
Are you guys still needing something?
Thank you for all joining us. This meeting, yes?
Just one last question. Did we finally get all the names of all the families?
Yes.
Okay, good. Oh, I was gonna ask that earlier.
Oh, I think I know what you
Yeah, no, we have a list.
This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Hey, you, how are you doing?